All right. Now see, the next thing what we are going to learn is how we could capture the leads or maybe a case from a web page, from a website. Now, this feature of Salesforce is sometimes called as web to lead or web to case. Now see, uh, in the previous session, we learned like how we can assign the leads or the cases to the respective queues, all right? But that was one thing which you should know about this is like, even though if you have created an active assignment rule, unless you would check a checkbox called active assignment, assign using active assignment rule, only and only in that case, this lead record would be evaluated based on the assignment rule. So I have shown you this like yesterday. I did like there were 3 or 2 records I created. So I mean this was record number 2 if I'm not wrong. So for this particular record, when I was creating, I entered the city as Hyderabad. Although we have an activated assignment rule that if the city of that particular lead record is Hyderabad, it should automatically get assigned to the Hyderabad sales queue. But this doesn't happen in this case. And you can see still the owner is not Hyderabad sales queue, rather the owner is training batch 208. So why this was happened? Because there was a checkbox. There was a checkbox for this, and the checkbox was like was not being checked. The checkbox was not being checked. Why cannot I see the edit button over here? Why cannot I see the edit button over here? Strange. Anyways, why cannot I see the edit button? Anyways, but this is something different. But what the point what I was discussing was like, if you have not checked that as active assign using active assignment rule, you create the lead record, still it is not going to be, it still is not going to be evaluated unless you check that, And that was related to the case as well. I mean, if you have solved the homework that I have given to you, see, if you would be creating a new case record, and if you forgot to click assign using active assignment rule, if you have in the backend, if you have an assignment rule, it's not going to work. It would not going to work unless you would make this checked. All right. Now, this was one thing I wanted you to note it down. That if you have created an assignment rule, point number 1, the assignment rules can only be created for lead and case. There's no another object in Salesforce for which you can create the assignment rules. But if you wanted to transfer the ownership, you can do it manually. And you can do it manually for any object. If I wanted to transfer the ownership of this record manually, I can do it for any object. All right. But if I wanted to do this automatically, I should design assignment rules, and assignment rules can be written only for case and lead. Now, if you have wrote the assignment rule, that assignment rule is already in place, it is activated. Still, it would not be allowed unless at the time of creation of the record from this user interface, you would check a checkbox called assign using active assignment rules. Only in that case, the assignment rule would be applied for this particular record, otherwise not. That is something you should remember, because the topic which I'm taking right now, web to lead and web to cases, they are going to bypass this rule. I'll understand. All right. So this is something I wanted every one of you to remember, that if we even have an assignment rule in place and which is in active state as well, the assignment rule will only get applied When you click, when you check a checkbox in the user interface, there's a checkbox called assign using active assignment rule. Once you check it, maybe for the lead and case, because these are the only two objects where where I can have this assign using active assignment rule. So so then and then only, then and then only the assignment rule would be applied, otherwise not. Otherwise not. This I have demonstrated you yesterday. All right, chalo ye revision इसलिए लिया क्योंकि ये जरूरी था. I know the topic which I'm going to take right now will going to bypass this, and you must understand a difference between if a lead record is being created from this user interface, or if a lead record is being created from a website. That could also happen. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that. The source of the lead could be all of this. A lead could be generated from the user interface, from a phone inquiry, from a referral, from a website, right? Even the case also could be generated with different sources. Website is one of them. Now, I'll show you that technique by which we can develop an HTML code, HTML script and HTML code, a small program rather, by which we could capture the lead from the websites as well. And see, understand. Now let me come to the topic. There are so many places, might be you have seen, they would ask you to fill up a small form. I think with our website also is there. I think with our website also they have a small script has been written. This is what internship. No, I would like to go to the home page. Oh, what happened to this? Anyways, I'll have to I should try this with something else. What I actually wanted you to understand the concept, like let me try this with ICICI Bank. We might have seen, certain pages in the website where they would ask you to enter a few of your details regarding something. For example, yeah, if you would say like apply now, that could probably take me to a small page like this, and I would be entering my mobile number or maybe a few more details, and then these details of mine would getting registered. I can try this with some educational institutes website. Maybe I could try this with let me try this with Udemy. Let me try this with Udemy. If I would go with this program and what is this? I'm not able to show you that properly, but we usually have seen with some of the website a certain page like this. They would ask you to fill up a small form, maybe enter your name or email or something like this, right? And when you submit all those details, what happens in the back end? So that is something I wanted to have a discussion, but I'm not able to show you that. But anyways, you'll have to assume this. So what happened is, like, for example, we are having a business over here, and somebody would come to that website. We are having a business is having a website, and in that website, it is having a page wherein they would ask you to fill up a small details, and as and when they would submit that. So it's obviously a lead that should be captured. That should be captured inside the lead object of Salesforce. So whenever a lead is being generated, not from here. I mean, nobody has logged in into the Salesforce and he clicked onto the new button and then he fill up with the form and save. This is the one. This is the way. Yes, of course, this is the way. But yeah, lead could also be captured. Lead could also be generated from the website. All right, the lead can also be generated. One source could be like website. In that case, Salesforce has given one provision that you could capture the leads. You could capture the leads from a web page as well. And not just lead, you could even capture the cases as well. So I'll be showing you everything related to, this web to lead, and I'm going to give you this as an homework to create a module for web to case. And this is very interesting. All right, this is very interesting. So what just I have to do would be like, I would first of all would require to enable a feature called web to lead for my organization. But for the developer edition, it's already enabled. For the developer edition, it's actually is already enabled. But if still, if you won't find it, if you won't find in the enterprise or unlimited edition, you'll have to go with this navigation. So this is just in case if you don't see that your organization is not enabled for web to lead to, you'll have to follow this navigation. Otherwise, I'll show you for the developer edition, what we are using, this is already it's already enabled in the place. So what you just require to go to the setup and then go to customize, go to leads. Go to leads. Here you just require to find something called as web to lead. Web to lead. See this one. All right. Make a click onto this. You will be going to see that web to lead is already enabled. Let's consider if it was not enabled. Let's consider if it was not enabled like this. For example, what you just require to do is like, require to press this edit button, will come onto this page, make it enable and save it. Make it enable and save it. So this is how I enabled web to lead for my organization. This is how I enabled web to lead. Now what is going to be happen is like, something what you can see over here, like see, something you can see over here. This would be like, by enabling this feature, there is your website, my website. Let's consider there's a website who's having some of the fields like first name, last name, a small form would be there. And when somebody would submit, there's a button called a submit button. So this would automatically create, a lead inside Salesforce. This would automatically create a lead inside the Salesforce. The same with the case as well. So this feature is called as web to lead. That the lead record could also be imported. The lead record could also be imported from the external source like a website. Case record could also be get generated from an external source like a website. That is called as case to a web to case. All right, web to case. For that, you'll have to enable web to case as well. But don't worry, for the developer edition, it's already enabled. But for the developer edition, web to lead and web to case, both of them are already enabled in place. But you just have to check it once. All right. Now for that, you must have an HTML page. For that, you must have an HTML page. So if you would ask me, sir, do we require to learn the HTML? I'll say yes. Because you are dealing with the web technologies, you should have a basic understanding about the HTML. But for this purpose, don't worry. Salesforce has given one button over here, which would automatically generate an HTML page, an HTML code for you. It would automatically going to get generated. But my suggestion would be like, you should go and learn HTML. By the way, HTML is an open source. And if you go with the YouTube, you're going to find so many good videos over there. And from that as well, you can make a learn. You don't require to pay this. You just don't require to pay to anyone. You can learn it from your. By the way, with this, with the Salesforce training, we have given that provision that after Classic would be completed, before the Lightning would getting started, we're going to give you a basic idea about the HTML and JavaScript source, because Lightning is completely based on that. And anyways, for this purpose, you just don't require to learn it from anybody. There's a small button you can see, create a web to lead form. You just require to make a click and see what happens. What are the fields that you wanted on this? What are the fields? So I wanted like first name, last name, email. If you wanted to add something more, like I wanted to add the phone as well. I don't want state. I just have removed that. And whatever you wanted onto the form, you can just put it over here. For example, phone and mobile. Whatever, like if you wanted to add the country, I'll just add the country. Lead source if you wanted to, whatever the fields you wanted. Example, annual revenue, right? All that. So once you decided with all those fields, what you wanted onto the page of HTML, you can just add it from left to right. Now the return URL, it's something which is compulsory. What does it mean by return URL? I'm going to show you that. Don't worry. This is just, after clicking the submit button where the page should get rerouted. That is what is a return URL. So now I have given it as a google.com. You will going to understand. The captcha, I'm just excluding that. I don't want it. You might have seen that few of the website they are having the option, you would require an authentication process, a simple authentication process. They would ask you to enter some of the text, maybe in uppercase and lowercase, and they try to make it a little hard to understand that only the human beings could be understand. So this is the way to make it sure that the one who's getting logged in is actually a human being. But I don't want it to include that feature, so this captcha feature I have disabled. Now once this has it's a very small interface, as you can see. Now I would just generate this. So see, this is the code. It has been generated automatically. I just require to copy and paste it in any of the browser or in any of the editors. Like I have Notepad. Even you can go with a simple Notepad as well. You just would require to save it with the extension as .html. So I would be saving this inside your class. I'll just create a folder over here, maybe like web to lead. Inside in this folder, I would be saving this. I would be saving this as maybe like lead capture form. And the extension I'm going to give this to would be HTML. So Notepad++ have a default setting, where you can make this as HTML. So once I will make this as HTML, you're going to see certain differences over here. See, now this has been considered as HTML, so it has been arranged accordingly. All right, it has been arranged accordingly. So this is a form, an HTML form, which is being generated and which is being generated from the Salesforce itself, right? It actually don't require to do anything. Now let me show you something. I'll go with that folder where I have stored this page into your 208. I have this form. All right. Now let me open this with a browser, a separate browser. I'll take Firefox for this. See, it's a basic form. Of course, it's a basic form. If you want, you can make certain editing over there. For example, I would like to introduce 2 break tags every time. So I'll just copy break, 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 and break. I save it over here. I'll go and refresh this page. You can see it's going to it's making differences over here as well. So if you know the HTML coding, you can make this form a more readable, a more user-friendly. This one is the basic form. But if you know how to code the HTML, whenever you make the changes over here, whenever you make the changes, you save it over here, you go back and refresh this. The changes are going to be reflected over here. Immediately. All right. Now, this is a form. And you can see that I opened this into a different browser. Let's consider this is a different machine. This is not the machine where we have the Salesforce opened over here. All right. How many lead records right now we are having? If I go with all open leads, how many lead records we are having? Somewhere around 20 leads records we are having. All right, 20 leads record. Like, let me now enter one record from here. Let's consider this is a separate place, and obviously it's a separate place because I opened this into a separate browser. Maybe like web to lead record number 1. The email is, for example, test. Let me go with this. Now, why should I go with this? test@test.com. Company is like ABC. City, see. Now here I wanted you to understand. I wanted you to feel something different. I wanted you to see something different. All right. See, I'm entering the city as Hyderabad. Just note this. Phone number 90. Or let me take any autofilled. Country is India. Annual revenue is somewhere around like 1 10, 100,000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh. Right. Now with all these details, I will submit this. All right. I would submit this. City is Hyderabad. I'll submit this. How many records right now we are having in place? We are having 20 records inside the lead. All right. I'll submit this. As soon as I submit it, I'm going to reroute it to Google. That is what my written URL. You can plan this for. All right. You can plan. After submitting that form, where do you want it to land? So because I have written as the written URL I mentioned as the Google, so I'm coming to the Google. All right. Now, when I go to the Salesforce, I first of all would refresh this. So 21, that means one record has been inserted. One record has been inserted. If I go with the recent one, recently viewed or something, not in recent, all open. So what I have entered, assignment route. No. Web to lead. Web to lead. See this one. This is a record which I have created, but this record I have not created from this interface. Rather, I created from a web page, right? But Salesforce give this facility that even from that website you can insert a lead and insert a case, right? Now, one thing which I wanted every one of you to understand, I mean, while creating this record, I entered city as Hyderabad. Now, what do you see? When the record was saved, the ownership has given to Hyderabad sales queue automatically. So, अभी एक बहुत important बात. If you are creating, for example, if you are creating a lead record, if you are creating a lead record from this user interface, and you are having an assignment rule in backend, that assignment rule would only be applied if you would go and click assign using active assignment rule. So this is for all those leads record which you are creating from this user interface. This applies to all those lead records which you are creating from this user interface. But if we are capturing the lead from an external source such as website, we are having a page, where maybe from that web page, the lead records are getting imported. So if the lead records are getting generated from an external source like a web page, which actually Salesforce allow, you just have seen that. There's a feature called as web to lead. In that case, there is no need of this checkbox. Actually, this by default would be checked. So whenever a lead record is getting inserted from an external source like web page, the assignment rule would automatically get applied. The assignment rule would automatically, actually, the assignment rules, case assignment and lead assignment, they are being created for the external leads only. They are being created to manage the external leads. If the source of the lead is some external like a web page. So to manage that, to manage those leads record, to manage those case records, which are coming from the external sources, particularly a website, a web page, to manage them properly, the assignment rules are there in place. So assignment rule doesn't require, if these are coming from an external source, assignment rule are automatically going to be get applied. But when you are creating these leads or case from the Salesforce itself, then it's up to you whether you wanted the rule to be get applied or even you can bypass the rule. If you don't want it, the assignment rule should get applied, then you can uncheck this. So this is what an option is available in Salesforce. I mean, when you are creating a lead or case from the Salesforce itself, from the user interface of Salesforce itself, then you have an option, you can bypass this rule. You can bypass this rule. But when the lead is, or maybe the case is coming from the outsource, from any source like a web page, then assignment rules are compulsorily going to be applied onto that. So every record would going to be evaluated based on like what the assignment rule has been created for that. So this is something which is important to understand. All right. So there are two things with this topic you have understood, like how I can enable the feature of web to lead, how to capture, how to create a form, how to create an HTML, then how to run it, and how to create a lead record, but from a separate web page. And second thing, whenever the lead is coming from an external source, assignment rules are going to be get applied irrespective of this, whether this has been checked or not. Actually, this option you won't find this option over here. If you won't find this option. So unless you make an edit, right? So this is something like, as soon as the record is getting inserted, the rules are getting applied. See, even though it seems to be like it is not checked, but still the rule has been applied. Why the rule has been applied? Because that is an internal validation rule of Salesforce. Whenever a lead is coming or a case is coming from the external source, like a web page, the assignment rules are going to be get applied automatically. And it won't require that checkbox to be get checked. All right. So this is what you have to understand. And after this, once you would have a practice onto this, go with the same for the web 2 cases. In the web 2 cases, to enable web 2 cases, there is a little different navigation. Actually, you'll have to follow this. Like, let me show you this. So for lead, it was straightforward, a little straightforward. As I go to customize, I go to lead and I find a web to lead right over here is one. But for case, you will not find anything called as web to case. See, there's nothing called as web to case. Do you see? There's nothing called as web to case. But then there is something called as self-service. Case auto response rules. That has been changed. Auto response. What I have written for this, customize, setup, build, customize. Oh, self-service. No. This is something else. You will not find it inside the case. In the customize itself, there is something called as a self-service. This one. So particularly for the case, you will have to go with this. And here you would going to find web to case and the form, right? So I would first of all would check for this web to case, whether it is enabled in my org or not. So you can see, I told you that for developer edition, it's already enabled. If you wanted to enable the captcha, you can do it. Otherwise, just keep it as it is. Now, second thing, like if I wanted to generate a form, a similar type of HTML form, right? See a similar kind of interfaces over here as well. So whatever the fields you wanted, like I wanted to have the priority, I wanted to have the case reasons and all. And then, I take this, I don't want it to include a captcha. I click on the generate. So this would generate, a similar kind of form, but for the case, right? You have to take it in some of the browser and you'll have to save it as with the HTML as an extension, .html or .stm, whatever, right? So go with this second and try the same activity. First of all, you should have all those assignment rules in place. Maybe if you have solved this assignment, then and then only go with the second one, right? If you have not solved this, so first of all, try to attempt this. Create all those queues, whatever, and based on priority, see whether after creating a case from the web, whether these are getting assigned automatically or not. All right. So first of all, solve this. Otherwise, there is no meaning to go with that program. All right. So this completes web 2 cases and web 2 lead. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start with the next topic, and that is profiles. That's all for today. Now, if you have any questions, I'm giving you this. Now you can unmute yourself if you wanted to ask anything. Yes, any questions?
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
Good morning.
सर जैसे आपने बताया वेब टू लीड का मतलब फॉर्म अपन ने डिजाइन किया, राइट?
बोलिए ना, बोलिए, क्वेश्चन बोलिए पहले अपना।
हाँ, फॉर्म अपन ने डिजाइन किया है, और अगर जैसे ये सेल्सफोर्स अकाउंट किसी कंपनी का है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एबीसी डॉट कंपनी का है, तो उनका भी ये पेज होगा, राइट? वो कैसे फिर रिडायरेक्ट करोगे आप?
Yeah, I understand what you wanted to ask. This is something you'll have to embed into that code. All right. This is something that you would have to embed in that code. आपको ये particular code you would require to get transfer. If you wanted a page, a particular web page or a particular code should get embedded, should get be enabled, or should get be authenticated from the Salesforce, this is something you'll have to embed. See over here, what is this? 00D is the user, 0D is the organization, which I wanted to, embed with this. And there are a few things which are hidden over here. Yeah, this one as well. So it would be like, if you already have a HTML page and you wanted that page to be get embedded with the Salesforce organization, you would require to have this all. I mean, return type is something which can be skipped, but these two things are very important. Why? See, because whenever we do the integration of Salesforce with some external system, you would be going to learn this in integration part, but just because you have asked this, I need to answer. Whenever
Hmm.
we do the integration, there are two things which is very important. Actually, we need to create something called a OAuth authentication. So for OAuth authentication, there are a few of the parameters which are required: client ID, client secret, and like the type of the request. So here the type of the request is post. There are post, put, and there are a few more. What to say? There are a few more types of request. So this particular code, this particular code would give two to three things. First thing, like uh, what is the type of integration? Okay, what is the type of integration? These are some defined classes, as you can see. Servlet, that's in Java coding. It's a Java component actually. So this would make an integration with the Salesforce, but which organization? This would give this organization. All right, this would give, and this would, these two things are most important. If I would like to integrate this with a page, with an existing page, these two parameters are the most important. But because we are transferring the values to the lead, now I mean, this was about integration. This was about getting connected with the Salesforce org. Now let's come to the object part. So when we are trying to insert this to the object, and we can do this only for lead and case, first of all right? You cannot take this to account or any another object, because there is nothing called as web to account. There's nothing called as web to contact. There's only two things: web to case and web to lead. Now let's come to the object part. So when we come to the object part, you are trying to insert something in the object. So that whatever you are taking, whatever, I can change the label over here. First name ko I can put only the something other. I mean, दे सकता हूँ कुछ email को मैं कुछ और दे सकता हूँ नाम. I can give the name over here. I can give the name, but I should mention where these are getting stored. Where these are getting stored. These are what? These are the field name of the Salesforce, right? Instead of email, you can write something else for this. What is the label you can display? Label, you can display something else. This is what? This is a label. This is a label. Label I could change. In the form I could change, but I should mention where these are getting. I mean, whatever somebody would enter into this needs to be get captured into a field of Salesforce called as email. So this is something which is again important. So this is how it actually works. This is how it actually works. You can write down city, where do you live, but it has to be captured inside a field called a city, right? So this is something like, this is how this actually generates. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes. Right.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I have another batch to start. Thank you so much for joining.